It was devastating. I canceled all of my plans. I felt so lost. I didn't have a home. Literally all of my things I was carrying on my back, and I couldn't even do that. I just really acknowledged that if I was ever going to move forward, I had to feel all of it, and I had to let myself feel all of it and not minimize the pain.
Rosie Jamaican, so nice we had to do it twice. Welcome back to my little safe hub of stories and conversations of coherence.
So happy to be here and chat round 2 with you, Joanna.
So first of all, like the biggest reason why I wanted to bring you back is number one, I think so many people are going to be inspired by your story of breaking free from corporate life into living a life that is minimalistic and nomadic and soul-led, and which we go into detail on in the prior episode. But you have an incredible other story about radical self-healing that is on a physical level, but it requires a lot of other bodies to kind of take the wheel. And I'm so stoked to dive into this situation with you, this circumstance, because this too is big. But if you want to just give a little bit about who you are for people who are listening for the first time, that would be great.
Yeah, so my name is Rosie. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., but lived in New York City for 12 years. I was working in the fashion industry, lived a really high-paced life, and loved it for a long time until it was no longer right for me. And then I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and started living nomadically. At the same time, I launched a retreat wellness company with one of my best friends, and we host wellness retreats and really, really intentional travel experiences all around the world. And so now I live a more unstructured life out of a suitcase. I've been, joking. Everyone says it's the year of the horse now, but it's really the year of the turtle for me, because my home is wherever I go. All of my things are in storage. I sold pretty much everything I have. Got out of a long-term relationship, put my life on its head, and now I have been fulfilling this dream of traveling and living more present and slow, and just really taking care of my body and my health, and spending my time more present and from a place of curiosity and excitement, and just really trying to lean into the things that feel good and that make me feel alive.
Thank you. That's awesome. And truly, to get a taste of all that Rosie's let go of and called in, check out the other episode. It's full of some really awesome nuggets and solid takeaways. And if you have any desire of shifting your life, like it's a pretty cool story. So check that one out. But for this purpose, your healing journey has struck such a chord with me, because for when people can defy odds and suggestions that have become so permeated, I think, in many systems, and in this case it's the medical system, and almost prove the system to be just that. It is one way of being. It's not the sole way of going on things. I get incredibly lit up when people can show up for themselves and get into a victorship mode, and out of oh, woe is me. Oh, that's the best. That's the medicine. That is the medicine. So I would love so along your travels, you were on Instagram, on your social, you've posted so much about living beachside and being able to be in the ocean and how it is a spiritual practice of yours. T Talk a little bit about that discovery and those explorations.
Yeah. So I think, when I quit my corporate job of 12 years and started leading to holding space through retreats and creating a space for people to be more present, I at the same time was doing all of that work for myself. And yoga was my practice and still is my practice for so long, but during my travels I've learned so much about myself. And one of the things that I have found and now have like based a lot of my life around is learning how to surf. And I am, it is the best surfer in the world is the one that is out there having the most fun. And so that's also the kind of the intention behind a lot of my life right now and the decisions that I make for myself. I think we're here to enjoy and to be present and to have conversation and to always like becoming the best and highest versions of ourselves. So yeah, I also think, it's a lot of I've been leaning a lot into fear. And so I started taking some surf lessons in Sayulita, Mexico when I was hosting a retreat there. And my experience was that I had not felt more alive and more present getting on the surfboard and being in the ocean, but I also had not felt that sense of fear in anywhere else in my life besides quitting my job and like leave and completely flipping its life on its head. So it was like this practice and this new experience and adventure for me that I was so nervous and scared of getting hurt and not being in control in the ocean. But it was also this experience where I just felt my heart like crack open and I felt just so lit up and alive. And I knew that I had to just do more of it. And I wanted to just kind of conquer it and make it my new challenge. So it's really been a practice of learning to let go of control. And it's been like such a teacher for me. And I really, really have fallen in love. And it's also a practice of learning not to be a perfectionist because I am not great. I am very beginner immediate, but I find I have so much enjoyment of it and just honoring. It's this constant honoring of where I'm at and also being like proud of where I've been. So I don't know. It's been such a teacher and such a fun new thing to just explore in my life right now. And I love traveling to surf and finding out where the smallest possible waves are because that is my vibe is small baby waves where you can just go out and have fun.
I love that. And so, yeah, someone had mentioned, I was out in Venice Beach in California and I went with my friend to go surfing and she said it's very similar to riding a horse because when you're riding a horse, you're with, like, you have to understand, like, the horse is with you in it. Like, and there's this like synchronicity that has to go on between you and this powerful being. And a wave is very similar to that big, powerful being of the horse, where you just have to like understand the little like nuances of what that looks like. And the journey is very present. And that's what I envision is why you like it so much.
Yeah, and it's this like constant like little progression. It's little tiny baby steps every time you get in the water. It's extremely hard. And so, it's and you can't progress in surfing if you're not calm and you don't like acknowledge that the ocean is in control. But also at the same time, like you're safe and protected and to just really enjoy the wave. It's been such a metaphor in life for me recently. And it's been really cool to go back to different surf spots where a year ago I was absolutely terrified and like hyperventilating in the water. And to now go back in and paddle out and feel calm and then be able to reflect on progression without any effort. It's just by being on the journey. And that's been really, really cool. So yeah, I had that experience yesterday because where I am in Costa Rica, the waves for me are quite large, but I felt very calm like going out there. Whereas the first time I got here, I was deeply humbled. I was like, I know how to surf. I know what I'm doing. And I got out there and was completely rocked and was like, nope. So yeah, but it's the point is going for it and just getting out there.
So when you first started going out there and you immediately, or not necessarily immediately, but we started developing this connection with surfing, what became your dream with that when you were up?
Yeah, I think really my dream with it is that I just want to be able to go out into the water, feel calm, catch my own waves and enjoy it and just have fun. There's really no other experience in the world of paddling and getting on a wave and like being connected to the ocean. And, you know, I don't know if you've heard this term blue mind, but it's basically the science behind people that spend their lives and their time by the ocean or scientifically calmer and more at peace on a cellular level. And it's a big reason why people are attracted to the coast and statistically there's less crime on the coast compared to like cities that are landlocked. And it's because people nervous systems are more calm and feel more at peace and I feel like whenever I get into the water, whenever I come out, no matter the surf session, no matter if I caught one wave or 10 waves or just, you know, was completely rocked by big waves, I come out of the water literally feeling like more clear and light from being in the ocean. So I think really my intention was just to explore it and have fun and get to a place where I feel, and I'm still really working on this. And it's so why I always am continuing to take lessons wherever I go. But to be out in the water and feel calm and just enjoy it and have fun.
I love that.
I'm not on a journey to become a professional surfer at all.
It's your practice. It's your joy. Yeah, I love that. It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome to be able to have that something to anchor yourself into every day. So talk to me a little bit, or let's start getting into like a turning point that you had in your journey. Some people might think that turning point might be like this big like aha moment on the waves, but frankly, I think it is an aha moment.
Mm-hmm. So this summer I left Costa Rica and Central America. I'd been down here for about 4 months, hosted 2 retreats, did a lot of travel, a lot of solo travel, a lot of meeting friends and family along the way. And I was going to come home to the Washington, Maryland, Virginia area to just spend 2 weeks with my family and friends before going on another big leg of travels. And I don't think I'd ever been so excited for the next 6 months of my life. I was going to go to Peru to surf one of the longest waves in the world with a dear friend. I was going to go to Japan, which is the #1 place I've ever wanted to go to. And back to Indonesia, which is where I really learned and fell in love with surfing. And while I was home, I was with my 2 little 15-year-old brothers who are not so little anymore, and they love skateboarding. And I had kind of learned how to surf skate a little bit while learning how to surf, and just thought, oh, this will be such a fun thing for us to do together this summer. And the first day we got out there, it was so hot, we were about to call it. and I didn't even fall, but I put my back leg, my right foot down, apparently funky, and my knee popped out of its socket. And I had excruciating pain. I didn't even hit the ground, but I kind of fell over, and the pain was really sharp for about a minute, and then it dissipated, and I sat down and I turned to my little brother and I said, that could have been really, really bad. And we both laughed, and I bent and straightened my leg, and everything seemed to be working, and my knee was back in its socket. The pain was going away, and I walked home, and I thought everything was fine. I said I took some Advil. We went to dinner, and yeah, I was a little nervous, but I had heard of people dislocating joints before, pop things back in, and good to go, because I really felt kind of invincible, and I felt at a high in this point in my life. I had done the 6 months of travel. I was really in flow, and yes, and then I was deeply humbled. So the next day I felt like something was wrong. My knee felt really loose. And I called my cousin, I'm so grateful for her. She's been just such an amazing resource in my life. She's an emergency medicine doctor. And I said, hey, I popped my knee out of my socket. It feels a little weird, but I think everything's okay because I'm not in any pain. And she just took a deep breath and she was like, Rosie, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but because you're in no pain, that often means things are really bad. And you should definitely get your knee looked at. And so at this point, it was July 3rd, the day before my birthday, which is Independence Day. And I knew that there were going to be no doctor's offices open the next day. At the same time, while I was thinking about going to get my knee checked, I knew I did not have health insurance, because that was a conscious decision that I made when I quit my job to not move forward with Cobra and spend, $600+ a month. Instead, I got travel insurance, which basically covered me for any high, expensive medical bills. If I lose my bags, if my flights are canceled, anything like that. If there was an emergency where I need to be helivac, I was covered. But technically, when you come back to the United States, or when your trip ends, is when your is when your insurance ends as well. So I didn't know if I was covered. And it is so expensive to go to the doctor in the United States if you don't have insurance. And but I said, you know what? It doesn't matter what it costs. I have to go get my knee checked out, especially if my cousin is advising this is really bad. So, but if anything, we knew pretty much nothing was broken in my knee because I wasn't in pain. So really, I needed an MRI, and so an X-ray wasn't going to show anything. But you things are so backwards, Joanna. I've learned that things are so backwards in our system, in our healthcare system, and I basically learned that you can't get an MRI, or typically doctors will not give you an MRI until you get an X-ray. So I ran down to go get an X-ray, and everything was fine. No, I had to go get someone to look at my knee, who would then take an X-ray on the morning of my birthday. So that is how I spent my 31st birthday, was getting an X-ray. And then went through the process of trying to get an MRI, which you cannot do unless you have a note from a doctor. So I had to go see a surgeon. The surgeon looked at my knee and basically did some tests, and he said, yeah, I'm pretty confident you tore your ACL, which was, felt like my life was ending when he said that. And then basically I had to run in circles to find the cheapest MRI in the area that would see me as soon as possible, because I didn't want to wait around. And that was like jumping through hoops, because there is a shortage apparently for radiology at the moment. So I got my results back. I looked at the MRI before the doctor even called me. And that was really, really a struggle, was to even go see a doctor, because doctors wouldn't even accept me for an inpatient visit because I didn't have insurance. And when I went to the appointment, I had to pay up front for him to touch my knee for 1 minute, which I think costs $300. Just for him to give me, 3 minutes of his time. So I looked at the MRI and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I looked at the images, and I knew, I was like, I am not a doctor, but my ACL is definitely torn. And then the doctor called and confirmed my ACL was torn. And yeah, I mean, it was such a blow, because I have never heard of anyone in the United States tearing their ACL and not getting surgery. I think that it just, the two came hand in hand, especially if you're an athlete. And from my research online, I found that really what you'll find if you Google is that if you tear your ACL and you want to be an athlete, it's not possible. It's not possible to be both. Really, the only people that don't get ACL surgery are older people who are not really mobile, and it's not worth it for them to move forward with the surgery. So because I didn't have a home, and because I had all these plans that revolved around surfing, and I had just fallen in love, I just felt like I was completely knocked down, and it felt like my life was ending. It felt like the worst thing that had ever happened to me at the time. So it was devastating.
I mean, like, the amount of, first of all, you're like, all the plans, all the plans falling apart.
Everything was canceled.
Everything starts to shatter. What you're reading hits your subconscious as like the only way that you can go about it. Like, the amount of identity crises that you probably have experienced within that, I can imagine, were infinite in like a very small window. What did you do next? Like, what led you to start thinking there's got to be something else out there?
Yeah. So first, I really let myself feel it all. I was so upset. Like, it was devastating. I canceled all of my plans. I felt so lost. I didn't have a home. I like, literally all of my things I was carrying on my back, and I couldn't even do that. And it was a really heartbreak. And I, from doing so much work on myself, I just really acknowledged that if I was ever going to move forward, I had to feel all of it, and I had to let myself feel all of it, and not minimize the pain, because although I had a lot of support in my life, I also felt like no one, and not to their fault, but no one really fully understood in my like immediate circle. And I started posting about it on social media, and I'm a big believer that like we need to share our highs and our lows, and although there are so many negatives to social media, I do think that it can be a place of incredible support. And I started to have so many people come out of the woodwork that I hadn't talked to since high school, or maybe didn't even really have a relationship with. And I met them one time in passing, and all of these people who said that they have torn their ACLs before reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to hop on a call, like, let me know. I've torn both of my ACLs, and I got both of the different surgeries, and I'm here to support you if you need. So I just started tapping into my network and to people who were offering their time, and I started talking about it. And everybody is totally different, but the way that I learn, and the way that I heal, and the way that I understand and unpack things, for me, is conversation. I almost need to like hear myself talk and then hear someone else's experience. I love gathering information that way. And so that was monumental. And then I had And I was like gathering information because I don't know if you don't know about ACL surgeries, it's not black and white. It's not like let's put these two bones together and in a few months you're good. It's you have to have two holes drilled into your knee. You have to take out a piece of your ligament somewhere else in your knee, reconstruct the ACL. It takes at least 6 to 9 months for the ACL to graft to your bones. And then pretty much a year for you to be able to go back to full sport. But even still, then the graft isn't completely strong. And around that time is where people re-injure themselves the most, is because that's when they're feeling good. That's when they're feeling like strong again. So it's a long ass recovery process. And in my mind, I was like doing the math. I'm like, when am I going to be able to travel again? When am I going to be able to surf again? Like a year feels like a lifetime away. I don't think that this is possible. This is like even more devastating when I dove into the information. But at the same time, I was feeling more confident about the surgery because of other people's success stories. And, you know, even hearing friends that they went on to collegiate sports or the Olympics or, you know, aren't in any pain now or things like that. So, you know, I was just gathering all the information. And then my dad's sister, my aunt, who is a retired physical therapist, reached out to me, or I maybe reached out to her, but either way we connected. And, you know, I look more like her than my mom or my dad. And, I've always wanted to, we were in this process of reconnecting, and she was one of the people who told me to jump off the cliff and quit my job. And she said, girl, like, I got you. We are going to do this together. And I want you to know what all of your options are and know that you don't have to get the surgery. And when she said that to me, within, you know, a week of me injuring myself, my first thought was, okay, I trust you. This is your profession. You're really good at what you do. You care about me as a family member, but you're absolutely crazy. No one doesn't get the ACL surgery. That's just, and live the lifestyle that I want to live, because there is something missing from my knee. Like that, there's no way. But I kind of like stored that information in the back of my mind. And she said, you know, I'm going to support you and trust you, whatever you want to do, but I want you to have all the information. And then right away, we started doing physical therapy together. She had me moving and doing little baby exercises, and it became, it became my practice. And I did PT on my own with her. And she gave me the movements, and then I did it on my own every single day, 3 times a day. And I just made it my mission to do everything in my power to strengthen and get my mobility back, because whether you get the surgery or not, the biggest thing for knee injuries, and specifically ACL injuries, is that you have your complete full extension and flexion. Otherwise, the knee doesn't gain its mobility when you do get the surgery. So I was like, I'm going to do everything in my power. What's done is done, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I have the best results. And then I joined support Facebook groups, and I just kept gathering information on healing. So next step was figuring out because really after I like was gaining information, you know, again, the route that only seemed clear to me at the time was surgery. But then it was okay, well, how do I get surgery? Because I don't have health insurance. So how do I do this so that I have the best care? But at the same time, I don't spend $50,000 or more on a procedure in the United States. And at the same time, surgery and going under anesthesia, it's a huge fear of mine. And it's kind of like what we were saying in being in the ocean. It's not feeling like I'm in control.
Mhm.
So it was really scary. It was really, really scary for me to think about that. So, um, after a bunch of research, I started looking into um like medical tourism and where else I could get surgery done outside of the United States, but also feel very, very sure of the best care. And I boiled it down to Costa Rica. And again, since I had spent like 3 months of the year in Costa Rica, I tapped into my network of people that I trusted and I asked them for personal recommendations of doctors that they had worked with or their family members had worked with. And I scheduled 3 appointments with 3 different doctors at the best hospital in San Jose, Costa Rica. And I told my dad about it, which I was very nervous about. And he said, yeah, I think it's a great idea. You absolutely should not get surgery done in the United States. And, you know, as long as you're working with doctors that you trust and that are credible and have a good track record, you know, why not why not go somewhere where you're familiar with, you have a community, and then you can do the surgery and you can be in an environment where you can actually allow yourself to recover and be, you know, not in a city, like be next to the ocean and be somewhere that you love. Um, so I went to Costa Rica, saw the doctors. I found one where I completely trusted my whole life with. He studied at Harvard. I spoke to multiple people who had great outcomes. He, you know, basically had a 0% infection rate, a 99% success rate. I walked into his doctor's office. It felt like a spa, and I completely just started crying because my body was like, yes, this is it. This is who I should be working with. And he made me feel very comfortable and told me everything that I needed to know and was very brutally honest with the fact that, you know, I can do this surgery for you, but that's the easy part. You are then going to have to show up for yourself and go through the healing process and put in the work with rehab. So I booked the surgery. I was ready to go. My friend took me to all my appointments, and I thought that I was just going to feel really sure with a way forward after that was booked. And then, to my surprise, my nervous system and my anxiety went out of control, and I kind of started spiraling. And after really, really thinking and talking to other PTs, including my aunt and other people in my circle, and doing even more research, and talking to people who hadn't gotten ACL surgery before, I realized that I was making a decision that felt, even though it wasn't, but felt impulsive, felt like I was putting a Band-Aid fix on my problem, and that I was not giving my body a chance. And going forward with surgery was kind of against going everything that I believe, which is that the body is all knowing and has such a tremendous power of healing. And I wasn't giving it a chance. And so one of the PTs, who is one of my dear friend's boyfriend, we got on a call, and, you know, we were chatting. He was like, well, okay, it sounds like you're really, really set on the surgery, even though you're nervous about it. But what I want to offer you is that it's sounding like you are letting your life, like wanting to get back to surfing and travel, you're letting your life and like where you are in your situation dictate your decision, instead of letting your body telling you how it's doing and where you're at. And where you're at from a physical therapist standpoint is that you're doing really well. You're not in pain. You're gaining strength. You are gaining your mobility back, and your knee sounds like it's pretty stable based on what I told him. And he was like, so there really is no harm in waiting and seeing what happens. And that, a little bit of a light bulb went off for me. And I said, yeah, I'm still skeptical, But I think you're right. I think I am going in the direction of what everybody says that you should do, especially in the United States, and especially surgeons who, no fault of their own, how they fix things is through surgery. That is their expertise. But I'm not listening to myself. And there is another way to do it. I started listening to my intuition, and I was like, if anyone can heal themselves and can get back to full sport by putting in the work and effort and and gathering all the tools and tapping into like holistic medicine and modalities, like it's me.
Mm-hmm.
It is me, and I don't want to have any regrets, and you can't reverse surgery, and let's like fuck around and see what happens. So then and then I canceled the surgery, and I was like, okay, yes, this is the right decision. Same thing when I quit my corporate job. It was just like full body relaxation. That's when I will know something is right for me, is when I feel calm. So yeah, that is how I got to that decision.
And that, just for anyone listening, like that is a huge opportunity, because I think that my observation and my experiences with helping people too is that I believe that so many people like don't even recognize the power that they have in their mind. Like they have only accessed like this much of their belief system, and unfortunately succumb to a lot of societal standards as to like where we are capped at in terms of our potential. And what this shows is the potential. It is like if you unscrew that cap, like you have so much more power than credit is given. And working in harmony with your body and moving through hard shit, because it is hard to do it. You're choosing this form of hard. You're showing up for yourself in a way that allows your body to trust you and you to trust your body. And the lessons that come up, and this is from my experiences of people who I worked with in doing so, it's like the lessons that come up are like the harmony that ends up like being co-created between the mind, the body, and the spirit becomes so much more resilient and infinite than prior. And I'm curious to hear more about, okay, you made the decision, you got the full body yes. What was the work like, and what has it been like?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a full sense of relief. And then I decided that, okay, if I'm going to go this route, and I did have, some people in my life who really believed that it was possible, although I was absolutely still skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
I just started to put in the work and show up for myself every single day. And so I really tried to stay grounded in the work that I needed to do every single day, and not get caught up in the what if my knee is never the same. Because the truth is, my knee is never going to be the same, but what if it can be even stronger? Because by the way, everybody in this world has weak ass knees. So if you are not strengthening your knees, strengthen your knees and start doing some squats and wall sits and all the things, because it is absolutely crazy how many people I now know have injured their knee or have issues or osteoarthritis or have torn something. So absolutely wild. But yeah, I just decided that this is the way forward, and I'm going to stay really, really grounded in every single step. So I knew that to be able to do this, I couldn't stay in the United States, because I needed to have my own space to really heal and be in my own energy. And even though I'm so, so grateful for all of the friends and the family that have housed me and let me sleep on their couch and in their guest room and made me feel home in their home, I knew I needed my own space. and not feel homeless, to feel nomadic again. So I decided to go, regardless of the surgery, to go back to Costa Rica, and that I was on a mission to heal myself and become stronger than I ever have. And so I booked a casita in Nosara, Costa Rica, where I have amazing friends. It was rainy season, so it was slower. And I took the time to go to the gym every single day for 2 hours. I started working with a knee coach who I met in Thailand while I was traveling. And it kind of, the universe was just giving me all these nods and yeses, and things were kind of coming together. Like everywhere I had been was kind of preparing me for this moment from choosing myself in the last year. Like it just kind of felt like divinely guided in a way. Like I would have never been able to have the opportunity to go to Costa Rica if I hadn't hosted a retreat there. I would have never had this amazing person around the world support me and give me the tools to how to strengthen my body and do all the rehab in the gym if I hadn't met him in Thailand a few months prior. And he was just about to run an ultra marathon in the one of the hottest deserts in the world with one ACL reconstructed and no ACL in the other knee. So that allowed me to see what was possible, and have the information and the tools to know how to heal myself. And then I just really tapped into every healing modality that I could think of. So red light therapy, cryotherapy, infrared therapy, like myofascial massage, deep oscillation, vibrational therapy, like to work through the scar tissue and things like that. And then, yeah, again, tapped into my support system and deep rest in Costa Rica, and eating all the right foods. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it was a really intentional time in my life where I just knew that this was, even though it was one of the worst things that have ever happened to me, it was also deeply, deeply humbling. And I started to shift my perspective where I could feel myself moving forward and I could feel myself getting stronger, and my stability coming back, my balance coming back. I started becoming stronger in other areas of my body like I had never been before. And I just started becoming like grateful for the injury and for the experience. And yeah, just shifted my perspective that way. And it was a really, really beautiful time of the year. You know, like I completely let go of everything that was supposed to happen in my life and really just grounded in myself where I was. And then just had this deep, deep, deep faith of that I was going to get back on a surfboard and get back to traveling again. And I basically told myself, so I heard myself July 2nd. I told myself in November when I went back to Sayulita to host another retreat that if I could surf there, that I wouldn't get surgery. And so I went back and I got on a surfboard, and after putting in all of that work, and I felt if it took an adjustment to like get back in the swing of things, but yeah, I paddled out and caught my first wave and there was no pain, and I just like lost my marbles and, you know, completely broke down crying because I just realized that I had done it. Like even if my knee, even if I re-injure myself in the future, which I hope that doesn't happen. I am so grateful for the decisions that I've made so far and the work that I've put in so far, because, I've kind of like proved to myself that I can be where I'm at. And reframing the idea of that surgery is not your first resort. It's not what you should do immediately. It's your last resort. And this is what has worked for me. And I feel very grateful because many people experience ACL tears or breaks or dislocations, and their joints are very, very unstable. And I was lucky in the fact that my knee was stable and that I could stabilize it further by strengthening all the muscles in my knee. And I can be at where I am right now without any pain. Um, but I feel very, very grateful that I was given that chance, and I listened to myself to explore other options. And I don't regret a thing. So we'll see what happens going forward. But I know that I've lived like the last few months like to the fullest because of the decision that I made, and whereas otherwise I would be still recovering, maybe still in pain, maybe having osteoarthritis, maybe limitations. I mean, I would have not had the same trajectory if I had done the surgery. And yeah, and it also would have been really, really expensive. And I think a big thing about injuries that people don't necessarily talk about, and especially surgeries, it's like, it's not just physical, it takes a toll on your mental health. And this was a mental health decision for me ultimately. I knew that this is what my mind and my soul and my heart needed. And I was kind of willing to take that risk, but also with like full confidence and knowing that I would know if I needed to get surgery, like that I would be able to have the wherewithal and the information and like the knowing to go that direction. And still, I'm still open to it. If I have limitations or if I'm in pain, I will of course like go that route, but it's the last resort, not the first. And I think that's a big thing that I really would encourage people to entertain if they do have a big injury, that you have other options and to look for the information, because it's not readily out there. You have to find it yourself, and you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to make the best decision for you. Yeah, and curate and gather all of that information yourself, and not just listen to what one doctor tells you to do.
Even if it's 100 doctors or 200 doctors and they'd all come to the same decision, it's like there's also the illogical mind, again, the heart, that might suggest like, I still feel into something different. I'm not sure. Like, this is all information based on information, right? It's your decision ultimately of what feels the most fulfilling to you. And obviously there are some times where like the guidance is encouraged and helpful, but I think to what your point is that like it doesn't have to be the first resort, and in many cases like that being the first resort can lead to a lot of other effects that happen, whereas if you trust your instincts and yourself and you maybe do things what might seem like the hard way, because it is the lonely road often, it can be so deeply healing on so many levels beyond the lesson that is like the most obvious, meaning like the healing of the knee. And that leads me to just like emphasizing, like, you went from like being told it's almost a year-long healing journey if you were to go down the conventional route, to being able to, and you're still working on that support for your leg, but it's like you went from being told that length of time is where it's at with the potential of the re-injury to getting back on a surfboard in 4 months. That is that is huge. You have like defied a lot of odds in order to do that, and to show up for yourself and put in that hard work. That's impressive, and it shows the potential of the mind. How has this chapter or this situation in your life, like, I imagine like you need the discipline and you need the effort, and you've had that in a lot of other lessons that you've experienced in terms of your life as a whole. But how has this experience shifted maybe your relationship with your body, your relationship with your mind, your heart? What what is now implemented?
Hmm. Yeah, I think something that I recognize making this decision is that if I were to go this route, there is every there's no ending. There's no For the rest of my life, I am committed to strengthening my knees and making sure that the joint is strong. And that was the decision that felt right for me that a lot of people aren't willing to make. And we're all different, but that when I go to the gym now, and now I am a gym girly because before I was a Pilates bar yoga girl, but now I am lifting weights and feeling really stronger than ever. But and I've proved that I can do things and be stronger than I ever really thought possible, both physically and mentally. But everything that I do in the gym now is centered around my knee. So that was definitely a conscious decision. And it's actually cool. It's helped me stay accountable, but for a reason that feels like it has a higher purpose. And, it's so now I work out for my knee and for my mental health. And because it makes my mind and my body feel good. So that's been a cool shift and it's helped me show up for myself more. And so even though I'm living nomadically, like the first thing that I'll do everywhere I go is I find the gym. And it's a lot of work, but it's also been something that has grounded me, and has created like a sense of consistency. Even though I'm living, very, like my life is just different every single day with like lacks a lot of structure. It's like given me a little bit of a foundation, and that's definitely been a blessing. I think it's also been a reminder of faith and like listening to your intuition and knowing what's right for you. I think that's been a constant lesson for me this last year of like choosing myself and my path and my journey that's right for me and not for anyone else. And a big challenge that I've had to go through with this that I was not necessarily expecting, but again, there's been a reoccurring theme with living so differently than most people in my life is that I have people who love me and support me, but they do not understand this decision that I've made, and they think I'm crazy. And it's been a big practice because trust me, like when I first tore my ACL, if I knew then that I wasn't going to get surgery, I would be like, what the hell are you doing? This is a terrible decision. This is very dumb, because that was the information that I had at the time, was what I had known, which was you tear your ACL, you're an athlete, you get the surgery. That's just what you do. But yeah, so I have had to love my people and give them grace from that it's okay that they don't understand, and I don't need them to understand to know that this is what is right for me. And it's at the same time, I've had to stay very strong in trusting that my decision is educated and not from a place that lacks judgment, because that's how that has made me feel, and at times, but also just give them grace and understanding that and trusting myself. So it's been a journey, it's been a practice. It's been really, really hard because support from other people, especially the ones that are close for me, means a lot. But then at the same time, I have met strangers and I have had people come out of the woodwork, or people like you, Joanna, that have been cheering me on and have been like, fuck yes, like that is incredible that you are, like listening to yourself and choosing a path that is different, but is right for you. And and showing other people what is possible. And it's just been an experiment and self-discovery, and I do not regret a thing. I almost like get anxiety thinking about like the fact that I almost got surgery. Um, because it just, yeah, it doesn't feel even close to the right decision for me. And my knee's doing so well. Um, I will be totally honest, over the last month, my life has been like totally crazy and a whirlwind with travel, and I have not been consistent at the gym as much as I've wanted to. But I've been surfing like almost every single day, and I am not in any pain. And, there are times where my knee feels different, and I do have some instability, and I, you know, I I'm definitely still strengthening it and healing it. And it is weaker than my other knee. And I'm fully aware of that. Um, but yeah, I'm out there and I'm doing it, and I'm trying to show up for myself every single day. And, I know it was the right decision for me and like the lifestyle that I have. And, yeah, now I'm leaning into a little bit more consistency with the rehab, but it is incredible what you can do through movement and through holistic healing. And the one thing I want to call out is like I'm not healing my ACL. That's almost like pretty much impossible, but I'm strengthening everything around it to compensate for what is missing, essentially. So yeah. It's been deeply, deeply humbling.
Um, the something that stood out is the fact that this journey has been showing you in your relationships where people stand. And something that has always struck me about people who are in history books or in the news are the people who have done things differently, right? Because they're here to pave they're here to show a new way. They're here to pave a path that is different. And all it takes is one decision. It takes one person to make that decision. And there's gonna be hive minds no matter what, right? Because by nature we crave things that are comfortable and like that, we get along with. And truly sometimes that one decision that from that one person will make people talk and question, but if done from the heart, if done with integrity, it shows people that journey and the results of that journey, whatever that is, like it fuels something that is a potential in somebody else, and the results will speak volumes, and it doesn't need to make sense to anybody, but your journey is making sense to you, and subsequently the right people within whomever that hive mentality is they're eventually going to see something different about it. And it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And it's honestly this injury. Injury and pain are just some of our greatest teachers. And this chapter and moment in my life has healed so many other areas in my life that I don't think I really needed. And also have brought people into my life that I really needed, like my aunt that I was talking about that gave me the advice and first planted the seed that I didn't need to get surgery. She, because of my parents' divorce, we like weren't that close growing up. And she's always wanted to have a relationship with me. And now we are so incredibly close from this whole situation because she was my biggest support system. She came on my last retreat with 3 of her best friends. And I basically like uncovered that we are cut from the same cloth, and I'm more similar to her than my mom or my dad. And she's almost like the big sister that I never had. And so many little beautiful moments like that, like even coming back to Costa Rica and taking time for myself to slow down and like come down from this high that I was on and recalibrate and yeah, and even be able to like speak and to show people that you are able to heal your body and you can't and you should listen to what is right for you, and like be able to share that from experience, I think has just been so powerful. I think I wish I had that when I was injured. And just a question like what you are told, I think too is so important, and to advocate for your own health and for your own care and to do your own research and to make the own decisions for you, because no one knows your body like you. And because really the people I think also who are questioning the decisions that I've made, I just want to shake them and be like, if you could feel how I feel now, you wouldn't be getting surgery either, you know? And yeah, I think we just have to question things more and look at how people that be open to the other way to do things instead of just doing what you're told. Just because that's how it's always been done, you know? So yeah,
How
breaking the mold.
it's so inspiring, and you're going to be, and you are a voice that will echo new potentials to people who didn't even know that this existed. I feel it very deeply, whether it's at your retreats, which, by the way, where can people reach you?
Yeah, so I would love to ask if anyone's listening and you're being called to come on a vacation that feels so much more meaningful than a vacation, like a soul level, deep level of rest and connection. They can come to radiance-retreats.com or find us on Instagram at radiance_retreats. And my personal Instagram is also Rosie Jermakian.
Awesome. Yeah. And so whether it's going and attending something in person with you, or looking at your stories on Instagram and following your journey, or maybe running into you at one of these amazing, beautiful locations, like this stuff is medicine. Like our stories are medicine, and your journey, living it in such a true heart-centered way, is medicine. And so many people, you've sowed seeds for who don't even realize on a deep unconscious level that you've done that. Like that resistance that people are experiencing, that is medicine, and they don't even realize that that's medicine. So like, it's like being able to honor that, let it go, and like know that in time, if they choose to honor that resistance, that's where it's at. But your journey is medicine for so many. So I honor what you've experienced and what you've gone through. And this is such a powerful chapter in your life.
Well, thanks for creating a space where I can be able to share it, because yeah, I think hearing people's stories and sharing my personal experience and just sharing with each other of what's possible is really, really inspiring. And it's why I've made so many decisions in my life, is from hearing other people's stories. So hopefully this maybe will just plant a seed for someone to maybe do things a little bit differently, or listen to their intuition of what feels right for them first, and questioning the mold.
Awesome. All right. So until next time, everyone.
Thanks, Joanna.